From the earliest days of your elementary school, you're taught that fossil fuels are bad, and millions of protests have been called for the usage of fossil fuels for its known uses as its contributor to climate change. So here you are as a young child in your first grade class wondering, or maybe even after, why do we still use them despite all these protests? From adults to children have protested why we should not be using fossil fuels. So why has the government seen this yet? Well, I'm here to tell you that they have. But inevitably, it comes down to economics. Economics? What does economics have to do with fossil fuels, Omar? Well, a lot. Hi, this is Omar, and I live in Long Beach, California, one of the main contributors for oil back then in the 90s. Here I will be telling you why we use fossil fuels despite the public's dislike for them. Actually, we'll start with why people see it as bad, just in case you weren't taught it or ever heard of it. Well, in short, fossil fuels has a hand in the making of climate change. Climate change has been heating up our global atmosphere and has negative effects on Earth and Mother Nature's resistance to the Earth warming up. Also, fossil fuels have created pollutants in our atmosphere and habitat destruction when getting said fossil fuels. In a book, Leaving Fossil Fuels Underground, Actors, Arguments, and Approaches to the Global South and Global North by authors Juba G., Hudson Boone B., Reptil A., and Osborne M., published recently in 2024, brings up even the issues of their social implications to along with them. Over 20% of all movements, from coastal around energy conflict issues, mining ores, building materials, and roughly 550 cases. Biomass and land conflicts, 400 cases, and water management, 330 cases, along with fossil fuel energy, comprise of the top 4 most popular focuses of these movements. Along with the topic of fossil fuels being negative, another article, Energy Futures, the story of the fossil fuels greenhouse gas and climate change by Saunders G.J., published in 2022, aims to teach readers to understand the fossil fuels greenhouse and climate change, including the stress they will put on fossil fuel usage. Stating, since the 1980s, a series of distinguished scientists and educators have been raising alarms in the U.S. Congress and the public that the uncontrolled releases of fossil fuel combustion products into the atmosphere will have a detrimental effect on the climate. Great, Omar, we have set these alarms, and we know that fossil fuels is so bad. So why are you defending it? To go based off my argument, we use fossil fuels simply because it's already here for us to use. Our government has been using them since the Industrial Revolution, and America was basically built for the use of fossil fuels. Our government hasn't simply just been ignoring the people. They've just been weighing the cost of removing fossil fuels and what to do without fossil fuels. To simply put it, fossil fuels has a lot of purposes to our economy. Yes, this is all on economy-wise. We understand that economically it's not so much good, but we do understand that it's definitely needed for us to grow. From an expert of fossil fuel future, why global human flourishes requires more oil, coal, and natural gas, not less, by Epstein A., made in 2022, tells the reader that we should, instead of listening to just simply, oh no, it's damaging our environment, we should also consider the equal course of what it will do without, as we need it because it is reliable, low cost, already implanted in our system as a conventional source, and there's not much other alternatives that are just as efficient as fossil fuels. In support, the depletion of fossil fuels, anthropogenic climate change, a review by Puck M. and Tang X, made in 2013, the anthropogenic causes of the depletion of fossil fuels, states, since the dawn of the Industrial Revolution, Fossil fuels have been the driving force behind the industrialized world and its economic growth. Fossil fuels has grown from insignificant levels of 1,800 to an annual input from 10,000 million tons of oil equivalents. Losing such a valuable resource would be a detrimental effect to our environment and economic growth. And don't worry too much. I understand that the protests against fossil fuels have been overwhelming, but there has been ways we have countered those things, such as the 1990s Clean Air Act and our legislation taking action to tax incentive promotive renewable energy resources. Speaking about renewable energy resources, well, why aren't we using more of them? Well, we're trying to input them, but there's also complications to them. To number one, it's unlike fossil fuels, it's not exactly planted in our system yet, nor has the technology have spread everywhere across the United States. Such energies such as geothermal, sunlight, or hydrogenic or air renewable resources are very limited to the Earth and its climate. Those only work for certain biomes. They can't be worked everywhere else in the world. Just like them, we are getting ways to form fossil fuels to be more sustainable for our environment, just as it is for our economics. To add to this, a book, Sustainable Fossil Fuels, The Unusual Suspect in the Quest for Clean and Enduring Energy by J. M.K., made in 2005, states that we have the technological abilities to use fossil fuels without emitting climate-threatening greenhouse gas or other pollutants. By buying time for increasing energy efficiency, developing renewable energy tech, and making nuclear power more attractive. Fossil fuels have played a key role in humanity's quest for sustainable energy systems. What I just tried to convince you of today is that when you look at fossil fuels now on, that you're not looking at it as a one-dimensional concept, but rather you see its value to society and not just the environment and its impacts on Earth. So today I want you to try looking at the stuff in your house probably made with fossil fuels and not just only think about how it affects our environment. And yes, it does negatively affect our environment, but also think how it sustains your life